Welcome to another episode here on the Kyle High Club podcast. I've got a reoccurring guest for you guys. His name is Anthony Brian Chute. Welcome, Anthony.
Hello, Kyle, my buddy from Pretoria. How are we doing?
I am always doing good. Some people would say if I felt any better, the lotto would be winning me.
Well, it's good to hear.
And where are you talking from on this whimsical Sunday?
Well, I'd love to say I'm talking from sunny Cape Town, but it is a quite miserable weather in Cape Town, more specifically in an area called Noordhoek, beautiful Noordhoek. And yeah, I'm having a good Sunday, got the dogs in the house, and talking to my good buddy.
Well, don't you like those winters in Cape Town, or are you more of a summer person? Because I used to love the rainy, snuggled in Sundays on, in the winter in Cape Town. I don't know. That to me was amazing weather.
I think I'm kind of a bit of a both. I mean, I do enjoy the almost forced being indoors and doing your work and just having a nice indoor routine kind of pressure that a winter presents. But also, with summer, I do enjoy going out and actually going into the sun, even though I probably shouldn't with my skin. But
Yeah, because you're a little bit of a ginger as well.
yeah, a little bit of I toast in the sun. But I enjoy both. I try to find the joy in both.
So Anthony, the reason I got you on today, there's something I always wanted to talk to you about, and that's your constant need to organize and clean and to streamline your workflow and everything like that. And I just wanted to dig a little bit deeper and find out what goes through your mind when you organize and when you clean around your house. What's the therapy behind it, or the philosophy behind you streamlining things like that in your day-to-day life?
So, it comes down to many factors. A lot of factors that, come from, psychologists would say like childhood all the way till now. Others are more recent kind of like mindsets and things that I've discovered. When I was a kid, for example, one of the more ridiculous kind of things is I was addicted to the game Tetris. I loved it. I still
Wow.
do. And that explains a lot of the order that you kind of see in my day-to-day life. Otherwise, and I've mentioned this to you in private, but like otherwise, it's kind of like a need for systems to be put in place. I'm addicted to making systems work. When it comes to, for example, something everyone has from small to big is a wardrobe or some kind of cupboard or a drawer or somewhere where you put your personal items. And speaking of winter time, if I'm getting a bit chilly and I want to go put that one warm top on, I know exactly which cupboard it goes and where I need to find it again, so that I can not spend my time looking for something when I know that it can have a place. Um, and when it comes to my, like, as you know, I'm a graphic designer and I own a design business. And when I do my work, there's something professional and very high standard about putting things in the correct order and labeling things correctly and putting things where they need to be. It shows a level of professionalism. Now, I will admit that sometimes I take it a bit too far. There is something as over order and over neatness and
Oh,
over
wow.
tidiness. And
In your personal life,
it, it,
or professionally?
uh, in my head.
Well, how does
Was
how does that work?
So there, my dad had a phrase that still I love to reminisce about, and it also haunts me. Is this you can get paralyzed by perfection. For example, in your
Oh,
head, you need a task or a certain thing to be so perfect that if you can't shape that perfection, you don't even get this task started. You're so overly obsessed with the outcome to be perfect. Taking that first step is sometimes impossible because you're paralyzed by that perfection. And I find myself that with a few things, like we spoke about social media in private, like about how we need to get our, you know, business online presence, or our craft, rather not business, our craft online presence up, where you know, like getting that content out in my head is, it needs to be so perfect almost before it goes out that it avoids you know, I avoid actually putting the first thing out. Does that make sense? And it's such a metaphor for so many things in our life.
Don't you think that is one of the being a creator, whether you're creating a digital art, or if you're making something with your hands, or even if you're just cooking, don't you think it's one of the creator's biggest burdens is trying to make this project so perfect that you're actually getting lost in that world just to getting it out instead of just finishing it?
I think that's definitely a major factor in it, although I don't think it's all of it. I think it's also got to do with the fact that, you know, you see other artists with their work out there. Like, for example, I'm sitting in a TV room, just to give a little bit of context. I'm sitting in a TV room where there's two paintings on the walls on either side of me. And I'm looking at the two artists, and they're completely different from one another. Yet, you know, like their names are signed at the bottom of that. And I think as an artist, we have the fear of, oh my God, is what I'm putting out to the public to see and to judge, is it good enough? Is it right enough? You know, and it's all got to do with this imposter syndrome that all creatives kind of feel at some point in their lives, that, you know, is what I'm putting out there, you know, because it's not just on behalf of someone else or someone else's brand, it's my own stuff, is it good enough? And it's a fear that we perfectionists and, you know, OCD like people have all the time. It's like it's a struggle mentally to be able to cross that barrier and be like, you know what, I'm going to just start, and I'm just going to grow it organically, and it'll get to the point where it is, you know, close to perfection.
But it becomes a giant oxymoron, because you are creating for yourself, but you sit with your own criticism as well, and you don't think that it's kind of good enough to your standards. But also, although you are making it for yourself, you are still going to wonder what the world is going to think about it, because it's your own personal creation and it's you made it for yourself. And someone else's criticism is reflection about your own inner thoughts.
And that's the thing, like I would like to say that you almost fear that the criticism will overwhelm your desire to stick to your authenticity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That your authentic self, that your true art, that you know you've not, because remember that art has different levels, and if you're really digging deep down inside and you're putting that shit out there, you're gonna have to bleep that. But if you put that out there,
Yeah.
you fear that people aren't going to receive it as passionately as you are, which is a ridiculous fear because they won't. Um, and you fear that, you know, that the public will see it in a certain light that would reflect so negatively on what you feel about it that you lose that passion to begin
Or
with.
you won't be able to
Now,
accept what they are saying about it. But you can actually take this away from art, and just put it in your own home. For instance, like, I clean my house for myself, I decorate my house for myself, and I make sure everything is organized. But I also have that fear, if anyone walks in here, is that going to be a reflection of my own personality, and what anyone is going to say about it is going to reflect on me.
yeah, it is true.
So
But
because
yeah.
you, as a creator, or just the average any person, whatever you do, although some people are more reluctant to think about what the world will how the world will accept them, we all do things
Mm,
for ourselves. But I think one of the biggest things, because of social media, and that is why I'm trying to stay off of it, and kind of detox away from it. Although you post things for yourself, you're still making yourself vulnerable to other people's opinions. And it's kind of
mm,
like that way we actually have to think, listen, people are going to have their opinions and people are going to say things. I am still doing this
Yeah.
for yourself. You need to actually try and remove yourself away from the world and just continue doing things for yourself.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the thing, eh? Like, we're obviously now diving into what the fears are, but I mean, at the same time, it's okay to have these fears as not only a creator, but as any kind of professional or any person. We have fears about certain things, but the bravery part comes in when you face those fears and do it anyway. And I
Yeah.
think that's what separates certain individuals from other individuals. Like, if you everyone has the fears. I promise you, the most brave people in the world still have those fears. They just do it anyway, and that's where the bravery comes in,
No, I
and that's
mean,
what separates.
you can actually minimalize this whole entire conversation to a point with what you wear. I mean, let's say I'm going out in the world and I'm literally just wearing something practical that um, it makes me feel comfortable, although it might not be fashionable or, socially acceptable between inverted commas. People are going to say something about it, and you must have the courage to go out in the world and just not give a fuck about what anyone thinks about you. Because for you, you wear what you want, and you can use that in any perspective or any objective manner in your life.
Yeah, I fully agree, and that's where it all comes down to is, like, you got to be brave to be your authentic self and not care, literally not care what other people say at you.
But
If they say the negative things, you got to be able to, take it and smile back and be like, thank you for that comment, thank you for showing interest, thank you for commenting on my post. We're boosting it. Granted, what you were saying with me was mean, but it doesn't matter to me. You still boosted my post. Thank you.
but
So,
now but now
yeah.
in there's another factor that comes in it, and I don't want to use the word pride as a egotistical thing, right? But sure, let's take the example again from me going out in the world with something I wear that's practical and everything like that. Okay. The choice
Mm,
I consciously made to go out in the world. But I believe someone should actually also have a little pride in themselves. For instance, with the organizing, cleaning your house and things like that. If you have pride in yourself and just taking a little bit more effort in small things, like making your bed, actually wearing something that, you know, is looks a little bit good and cleaning your house to a point where anyone can walk in your house and the place looks nice. I think there's a fine line between not giving a fuck and actually having a little bit of pride in yourself so people can take you seriously, although you don't really care what people think, but you also want to project yourself in a certain manner.
mm. Dude, I mean, you're hitting the nail on the head when it comes down to the one B word, balance. That's all it comes down to. There's yes, you must have pride and confidence, but there is such a thing as, being overly prideful and overconfident.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But at the
Th-
same time, that doesn't mean that pride should be thrown out the door. Pride is a good thing to a certain point. Just like, like self-care, when it comes to your clothing. Like, obviously, if someone says to you, like, you know maybe you're 44 years old, maybe skinny jeans isn't for you. maybe, you know,
I would cry.
maybe now you can have no, don't get me wrong. If you feel those skinny jeans are who you are, and if you are going to die if you don't wear those skinny jeans, then wear it with all pride.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you are, it's causing a bit of a problem in your life and you're open to criticism, then cool, change your jeans, man. But yeah.
You mentioned a word now that I actually really, really want to talk to you about. And this is something even though we just call each other casually and, just chit chat every
Mm,
day, this is
mm,
something we always touch upon. And I think this is probably one of the most important topics that's throughout the podcast series is self-care. Okay.
okay. Oh yeah.
And we need to actually take it more seriously because I think that's something that people are avoiding in today's life with social media and everything out there. we all tend to, measure ourselves with other people's rulers. I'm not doing as well as the people in my school, or I'm not making as much money as other people and stuff like that. But
mm,
we're all walking our own paths on our own journeys. So I think
mm,
we avoid self-care because we don't like where we are in life. But I think the ironic thing about it is, the more you
mm,
actually try to care for yourself, the better you're going to be mentally to achieve most of your things in your life. And what would
mm.
you say is an important self-care thing that you practice daily?
Um, gratifications,
In what manner?
gratification. Like, we often forget where we are in our lives versus other human beings and other situations and other places. Like, I wake up in a comfortable bed, awesome animals around me that I can call my pets, and my loves. Amazing girlfriend, the most amazing girlfriend in the whole world. That's taught me so much about life and understanding, and progressive thinking, and society. And she's really made me a whole human being, and with an amazing family that comes with her. Love with my family. I've, very little, but amazing friendships. And you see, already like my mood is lifting as I'm just explaining these things. And I
Yeah.
just make sure that every single day, if anything, even if I'm so busy with work, sometimes I have those days where I just can't even think for 1 second. But at least once a day, I just mentally just sit down and I think about these things that I'm grateful for. And somehow when you really truly like reflect on it, and you look at all the things that life has given me, I how am I supposed to be allow myself to get to a negative point of thinking when I
Yeah.
have so many good things going for me?
Yeah.
Does that make sense what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, does it mean that I have crappy days? Of course I have crappy days. Everyone has crappy days. Does it mean I don't allow myself to get depressed? Hell no. If I get sad, I allow myself to feel those feelings. But repeating these, confirmations, affirmations, gratifications every single day, it makes you feel that, you are accomplishing things in your life. Even if you're battling demons, or going up a steep hill, it's still you're going forward. And as long as you're going forward, that's all that you need to love and appreciate this one little life that you get.
And I think how you react to these gratifications, because
Yeah.
I think a lot of people take small things, and this is a very vague term, small things, but for granted. Because for for one thing is, I might tell someone, yo, you actually have got a nice house, you've got a nice car, you've got beautiful family, everything. And to them it's nothing,
Yeah.
and people take family and small things, like I've got food on the table, and I've got a house to live in, I've got a way to go to work, I actually have a job. People take those for
Mm,
granted. And I think that balance you were talking about, you can use the word balance also with focus. I think it's hard to
yeah.
focus on important things in life when we've got things like social media and the society around us bombarding us with what it's like to be a human, and we
Mhm.
lose track of these important things.
That's absolutely true. I mean, social media will, I mean, and, I'd love to say that I'm someone that's so aware of it all the time, but I catch myself in some of these kind of illusions where you'll see an individual that you find influential. Maybe the person has a certain style or a car or a lifestyle or something about their life that attracts you. And, because that person has all of that and you don't have any of that, it makes you feel less than that. But it's an illusion. It's an illusion. I promise you, half of these people posing with these cars on social media, for example, it's not their cars, it's rentals, or it's someone else's car they borrowed for a shot. It's how it works. I
But
mean, advertising, I understand the fakeness of it,
even
but it
though
still
these
catches,
people
it
even though
still
these
catches
people
you.
own these vehicles and own these houses, it doesn't mean they are happy. I mean, people don't look at that.
Exactly.
Why do they need social media gratification for their accomplishments? People don't think about it. Why do they need to post these things? Why do they feel the need to post these things? And
It's
now,
because it's. I can tell you why. I mean, it's because people, for better or for worse, the currency that is the most valuable these days is attention.
yeah,
That's what it comes to, and for I would say most human beings, getting external gratification from people, even strangers, hell, a lot of strangers in some cases, makes them feel that they are important, that they've got power, that they're needed. In certain cases, it's probably important. In other cases, it's really not. But
I
I don't
think,
know. For me personally, for me, I don't need those external gratifications.
but I think it's
Therefore,
an
I don't.
addiction. I seriously, seriously believe
Absolutely,
it's an addiction.
it's a drug. It's an addiction, just like a drug. People, they social media, and they've spoken about this before. I think it was in the one documentary where you know on Facebook or on Instagram when you go on those apps and you're gonna pull it down and you give the little spinny wheel just to see what the next refresh is. Isn't that exactly like you would go to the slot machines and just pull that fucking thing
Yo,
every single time, and just hoping for something special, just hoping for that little red little one to pop up. Ooh, and as soon as you see that little red thing or that little notification, you get a dopamine rush. You're like, ooh, someone feels I'm important. Someone likes me. Someone spoke to me. Someone said something. And if you get more of those, oh, so many people are talking about me and what I've done, and I it feels great. I understand what the feeling is like. It's just that I've kind of distanced myself from that, from needing that. I'm not saying it's not something that you shouldn't pursue. Oh my god, if you have the ability to do so, do so. It's worked out great for a lot of people.
but
But if you
I've got
don't go seeking that, looking for soul happiness, basically, is what I'm trying to say.
yeah,
It's not
yes.
going to fix
One thing
your
I do
soul
want to
happiness.
pose to you though. Sorry for interrupting you, but
No,
um, yes, one thing I believe, and you can fall in if you disagree or do agree. But
of course.
falling back on the topic of self care, right? And I
Yes.
see
Okay.
any form of addiction or distraction as a drug. Okay, so for instance, let's say alcohol, um, smoking, social media, and everything like that as a distraction, right? And these
Hmm.
distractions takes your mind off of who you are. And I think the most
Yeah.
important self-care is, and this might sound very cliche to say, is you're losing track of who you are, and you don't even know who you are. I mean, finding your inner self. Okay, and if you don't know who you are, between inverted commas, you're always going to find these unhealthy coping mechanisms, because I think people are avoiding those demons that you were talking about earlier, those things that come with you your whole entire life. People avoid them. And I think eating and social media and smoking and drinking are all unhealthy coping mechanisms just to avoid challenging those demons.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that's exactly what it is. I mean, it's all numbing pain in some way in your mind. Um, and but when that being said, um, addiction is such a lewd word being thrown out, because addictions can be a good thing sometimes.
Yeah,
Like
I agree. I agree. But,
you know,
there's
it just
Afrikaans
depends.
saying, sorry.
It depends on the substance, it depends on the device, it depends on what you use to kind of direct that pain or direct that mindset into. Like, artists are great at this because artists often pour their heart and souls onto their canvases or into their architecture or into their design or their business or systems. That's a form of self-care where you create something out of something that's in your mind. That's beautiful.
Mm,
But often, there's a counterpart to that. Often, someone will find the gratification and the satisfying feeling that they get from booze
yeah.
and partying or going crazy or other substances or whatever it may be. And it's sad, but it's the same thing, really. It's two sides of the same coin.
But I spoke to you about this last week, and I feel I'm 31 years old and I hardly know myself because I was constantly around people. I was constantly living with people, an environment where I'm surrounded with people around me, right? When are you actually supposed to be yourself? Because you wear many hats and masks around different people. You can't react the same way with everyone. But when do you actually take time to get to know you? I mean, those addictions that we just talk about, I mean, you can
Yeah,
actually take it as simple as when you get home from work, you've got some time. People don't normally sit and think about, am I going to do some introspection now? People sit and watch Netflix, or they got children and they've got other things to worry about with the climate out there. But that self-care that we were talking about, even if we're just doing the dishes, that's also a self-care where you can sit and reflect on your thoughts. So after a while, I've realized there are things in the world I don't like. I don't. I'm actually not an extrovert. I actually don't like being in big crowds, and so I learned these things about myself. And that's that balance you were talking
yeah,
about earlier. What we all losing, and that gratification of like little thumbs on Facebook and hearts on Instagram. We are
yeah.
finding value in things that doesn't necessarily bring us value. When do we actually take time to find the value inside of ourselves?
That's true. Yeah. But the thing is, like, because it feels good in the moment, the little notification icon feels good in that 1 second. And you feel that an overdose of that is going to make you feel, make you happy. It'll make you happy for a few moments, which is, another word for it is joy. But will it make your soul happy? I don't think so, because that's not where true happiness is found in my experience.
But I think also in a fast paced world, we all want instant gratification. Okay. Now people complaining,
Exactly.
I am fat. Okay, cool. Why don't you
Uh,
go gym? Oh, gym is laborious, but they're not going to see the results instantly. So they rather watch Netflix. But it's that pride that we talked about earlier as well. Are you going to take that necessary effort to actually just try and, go exercise every now and then, or try and do something that you always love? Because I think a lot of people lose hobbies that used to bring them joy just because it's a laborious task and they don't see instant gratification. We live in a disposable world. Don't you think self-care becomes like a second nature type thing? You put yourself half under the map.
Yeah, I think very often, and I will admit that I am also guilty of it from time to time. That we often put our other needs before ourselves. Our needs to pay our bank accounts, our needs to pay the bills, our needs to be the best, or and in some cases, like you can treat, it as aggressively as athletes would treat their training, like where they often have to wake up at like 4 in the morning to train. If it comes down to that, it all comes down to how badly you want it.
Yeah.
But I guess that same level of desire for the want in your work, or in your whatever you're trying to accomplish, your goal, the older you get, the more necessary. It's not even a case of, you need gratification to look good. It becomes more a thing of, you need to work out to live longer and live better. Because, if health and mental health is not something that is just there to, look pretty for gratification. It is a necessity of life. You have to sleep a certain amount of time to be able to function as a human being, or you are literally cutting the years off your life.
Yeah, but
If you if,
falling back into the topic of the social media, now everybody gets depressed because they're on social media. They see everybody else's accomplishments, they see what everybody else is doing, but everybody's
uh,
got the ability to do those things. It's your focus isn't there because of it's easier to get home and watch Netflix, or it's easier to distract yourself with mental health and all of your demons that you're trying to fight, it's easier to distract yourself to actually work on it.
Yeah, it is. It is way easier to distract yourself than to work on that task that you've been putting off. It's way easier to watch videos of a comedian like making jokes than to actually sit and maybe just assess something that you've been reminiscing about or been putting off. That's why honestly a lot of people make time to do things like, and it's, some may view it as a pseudoscience, for example meditation, to be able to just sit and not distract yourself with social media or the quote unquote the outside world, and just to focus on your own needs, your own fears, your own desires, just for, even if it's 10-20 minutes a day.
And I
it's,
think that comes
it's so
down to that
important.
organization. Why I ask you about the organization in the beginning,
Mm,
because if you just take a little bit of time and focus with the, and this comes along with that balance, to just organize and get the small little nitty gritty things you need to do out of your day to day life, you'll end
yeah,
up with a lot more time, like your own personal hobbies and exercising and mental health, because you don't have to come home and then clean your house first, or you have to come home
yeah,
and then do the dishes or other chores and things like that. Because
yeah.
people find value in those instant things. I can eat now, instant. I can just put my pizza box down there and worry about it later. But now this afternoon, when you come home, you need to clean your house first, and then before you know it, you need to go back to bed again.
Yeah, and I can tell you one thing. There's one thing that we can't buy is time. No amount of money can buy 1 second of time. It's true. That's quoting Avengers, but still, it's very true. And your time is limited, and when you become aware of that, you become very aware that if you waste your time on absolute garbage, you're literally, not even figuratively, you're literally wasting your life.
And I think,
Like, and I
yeah,
love the fact that I love the fact that series and movies and content is in an abundance, and I mean that's how society is, and it's how we grow. But at the same time, if you're doing nothing else with your time but watching TV and watching Netflix all the time, nonstop, can name every character from every series, like, if that's what you want for your life, amazing. You're accomplishing it. But then you can't be one of those people that complain then that you're not accomplishing anything in your life, or you're not finding happiness because you're not actively doing anything with the limited time that you have to accomplish those things,
and
such as self-care,
and
such as
Anthony,
self-love.
I've grown, and you know this as well, and I've grown so irritated with the world, and I've actually grown socially awkward into meeting new people and being in like the dinner table talk with people, because I've and I think that's something I need to work on as well. But I'm irritated to hear people talk about that garbage. Everybody focuses on these garbage, and in the same breath, I hear them complain about things they're not accomplishing. And I've grown to a point where I can't even sit at that dinner table listening to these things in a day-to-day life. I don't know if I'm too hard on myself or hard on the people and trying to make conscious effort, but I can't talk about nitty-gritty things in my life anymore. It's just seems so feeble and minuscule in my life. And to sit and listen to people saying, "Oh yeah, I'm so fat. I really wish I can shave off some weight," but in the same breath, hear them, talk about all of the favorite series that they binge watching for almost like 20 to 30 odd hours a week. I'm thinking to myself, why am I even sitting talking to these people? And I think, I don't know, if there's something wrong with me. Should I just associate myself with other people or just not talk to people?
Well, the thing is, like, um, the fact that you're very consciously aware of all of this means that you're already miles ahead of most individuals, because most people don't realize that there is absolutely nothing else in your life that's going to control your circumstances than yourself. Nothing. Not your parents, not your aunt, not your uncle, not your brother, not your sister. No one else can make the decisions but you,
Yeah.
right? And yeah, and accomplishing goals and doing what you need to do, it all comes from you. And if you find yourself in a circumstance where you are in a place where you are unhappy, and I'm not going to nitpick certain things, but let's say you are consciously aware that your doctor's told you that you've got a bit of a weight problem,
Yeah.
and it's nothing to do with aesthetics, it's nothing to do with confidence, it is a health. You're now, for example, in this example, in a health situation where you've got a heart problem because of certain lifestyle habits that you have, like eating,
Takeaways
take away,
constantly.
take away constantly, and you don't have any kind of like green diet or balance of diet. um, but then complain about the fact that you're overweight and you can't do certain things, and you're tired all the time. Most people aren't even aware that they are the ones that are in control of that. Yes, there are certain situations that you can't control, of course, welcome to the universe, but you are in control of your decisions, and it's your decision to make, wake up and eat garbage every day,
And I
or
think a lot
not
of
to go.
people a lot of people are also aware of these things, but they don't necessarily want to talk about it because that means they're acknowledging their faults. And I don't think a lot of people are open-minded enough to actually talk to people about these things. And it comes back to it's easier to avoid these topics than to actually trying to address them. And I think it's
Because
not
people don't,
easy.
yeah.
I'm
No,
sorry.
you go for it.
No,
No,
no.
you go for it first.
I said it's not easy to come to your friends, right? Because let's say I need to come to you, and it's not easy for me to say, "Hey, listen, Anthony, I've got this problem, man, and it's really bothering me." It also takes a lot of courage to mention this
Absolutely.
to people, and I think because of social media and where people are, people might feel intimidated to talk to other friends and family members about these things because they feel that might be a small thing for those people to actually address. And I think people and family members and friends need to actually try and be more open-minded instead of trying to talk about what happened on TV the other week. I think we should actually try and normalize mental health and friends actually being open and honest with each other. I think helping each other grow is a lot cooler than actually trying to sit at a dinner table and say who's more accomplished.
I mean, I completely and utterly agree with everything you're saying there. And I mean, again, we circle back to that pride conversation that we had earlier about the balance between your pride and, like, yes, have pride in yourself, have pride. You could always switch out the positive side to pride as standards. When you sit around a table and people are talking nonsense that you don't want to talk about, it doesn't mean that you are less than them or you feel more, you feel superior to them. It's not that. It's the fact that you have outgrown meaningless conversations. You seek more deep conversations with people. You and I mean, that's why we're such good friends, is I find it, let's use us, for example. I
Okay.
find it way more gratifying for my life and for your life. And it makes me 1,000 times more happy to talk about things like your personal growth with something like your business, or a demon that you tackled, or something that's happened in your life, because you're quite literally a character in my movie that is my life.
Yeah, yeah.
And learning about your life and that's, firstly, that's true friendship, and secondly, that's way more interesting to me than talking about some series that I saw on TV that's not a real interaction or relationship. It's a fake one. Now,
Mm.
look, I'm not discrediting movies and series, and I
Or
mean,
feeble.
artists. I
I mean,
mean, goodness, there's so much amazing, like, art out there in terms of cinema and
and we can
things
also
like that.
beat around the bush and be silly and still have silly conversations. I mean, don't get us wrong. I'm just saying it doesn't.
Fake conversations that you
Yeah,
have the problem.
yeah.
That's why I also don't do well with. I can be very friendly and I can have a meaningful conversation with someone if need be, but what I have an issue with, and Michelle knows this about me, is like, I struggle with small talk. Like, oh, great weather today, isn't it,
Yeah,
Jerry?
same.
Yesterday. Oh, I absolutely hate it. And it's something that I myself realize that is not always the right way to do it.
Yeah.
Probably a good thing I'm moving to Sweden because that's with the normal there. But um, yeah, like I struggle with fake conversations. I
I'm
like
gonna
I'd rather have someone come to me with an opinion that's different than mine and be
yeah.
real about it. Be like, listen, I feel this way because of these reasons. Then be completely fake about it just to be part of just to be part of a conversation.
I'm gonna throw a controversial spanner in the works.
Whoa, it's time for controversial spanner.
You
Spanner.
guys have gone to the controversial round where everything is controversial. Ding ding ding.
Gears clinking. Ding ding ding.
Welcome to the the controversial hour with Carl and Anthony. Um, don't you also think this might also be a generational thing? Because I'm just looking at
Ooh,
the Afrikaans culture, okay, and I'm not saying it's my family or someone I know's family, but I've noticed this to it, and I this might also be prominent in other cultures as well. But
uh-huh.
the old people are stuck in their ways, right? They have done their things the way they've been doing it their whole entire life, and they're not going to change anytime soon. But
Mhm.
things get the household you grow up in, and children are very malleable, and you can mold them, and they take in a lot of information, and you can choose as an individual what you take from your childhood or not. But I
Mhm.
think there might also be a generational thing that happens. I mean, looking at families where this aunt isn't talking to that aunt because of something they've done years ago, and then there's this always this tense vibe at family reunions, and people hold grudges because of something that someone has done. And now
Yeah.
I think that also, together with the modern lifestyle and the house you grew up in, people are so
Mm.
stuck in their waves. They believe that they want to believe. And I don't think a lot of people are open minded enough to talk about real things that aren't small talk, because I think the world with the risky world we are in right now, it's not easy to be open minded. It's a lot easier to guard yourself and build a fake personality behind a screen than to actually be honest and open with people you know and love.
Yeah, and that is a controversial topic, and you can tackle it from. I mean, geez, I mean, how much time have you got? Good
Yeah.
lord. But I think generational topics. So I mean, I don't think it's an Afrikaans thing. Absolutely not.
No, no, I
I
was just
mean,
taking it as an example.
absolutely, and I've noticed that it comes down to a world thing. Now, I'm not a economics specialist at all. None. These are just opinions, but you'll notice that where populations are less dense, less conversations and opinions are heard, right?
Yeah.
Therefore, those people, whether it's whatever beliefs they have, and views on life and opinions and things that they have, it's more difficult to change people's opinions when they haven't heard enough opinions. Now, when you live close to a more urban area like Cape Town, Johannesburg, New York City, London, you'll notice that that's where all the more progressive kind of individuals come from,
Yeah.
uh, where people are a little bit more authentic, I guess, or not. I don't know. But, at least that kind of, in my opinion, is where people's minds are a little bit more open in slightly areas where more conversations are being heard. However, now the flip side to that is more conversations means more opinions, which could lead to more negative opinions, which leads right back to you're guarding yourself from from the world, which means that you sometimes do put a fake face on. But
Mm.
for me, like, I've because my mind is, I never allow my mind to be closed about anything, and that includes anything. Will I call something horseshit if I think it's horseshit? Absolutely. You're gonna have a lot of bleeps there, but for me, I don't allow myself to be closed minded about anything, and because of that, Um, I guess I'm open to opinions, and I don't actually care about other people's thoughts on my what I have to do. Like if I put something out there in the public, like on social media or something, like it's almost as if I just click it and post it into the ether. I don't
Yeah.
let it bother me.
And there
Anyone
it
has an
is.
opinion about something, like I mean, it's like, yes, there are like people in a crowd cheering and chanting and going completely nuts in a stadium. But have you tried to scream in a stadium and have anyone hear you, even your neighbor? They
Yeah.
can't. How the internet works. Now, of course, I'm not, again, balance. I'm not saying that every single opinion that you have in your mind, you should just post and not care about what people think. I mean, obviously not. And let's be really honest now, most people are incredibly stupid about at least one topic. You know what I mean? And you can find that in conversations. I mean, I know for a fact if you ask me about certain topics, I have no opinion, and I'm gonna say the wrong thing. I'm saying that if the the need to be fake in the world is understandable, but because we understand how and why that happens, we don't have to do it. If that makes any sense, or
Yeah.
we don't have to care about other people's opinions, really.
I personally believe, right? I believe this firmly that back in the day, to be published and to make yourself heard, we only had newspapers and TV and actual publications, right? And these people were actual journalists and news anchors and stuff like that. Okay. And nowadays, you can hear about and read about anyone in the whole entire world. You can see comments from people across around the world that has got their opinions. I mean, from 5-year-olds who just discovered Facebook to older people. You can literally get yourself published. It's so easy. I mean, me distributing this podcast, I literally can do it for free, and people around the world can listen to this.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's a lot harder for someone to make up their own minds if the information is so easily accessible. I don't know if that makes sense.
It makes 100% sense, and I actually think about it a lot. It's like, remember when we were growing up. Now, we're for any guests listening, like we are, for context, we're about 30, 31, 32 years old, and we were definitely products of the 90s. I mean, we grew up Power Rangers, we grew up Biker Mice, we grew up all the 90s characters, Dragon Ball Z. Um, and when we were growing up, if your friend heard something from a parent, like an opinion on anything from religion to politics, so
Yeah.
anything in between, you would just take it as fact because that's an authority figure and you trust the authority figure. Because we couldn't, if you wanted to go look up specific facts, you had to literally go to the library. There
Yeah.
was no
And read.
access, there was no, and even then, a book is not always the most accurate thing depending on who the author is. You know what I mean? Like it could be a complete whack job who wrote a book. Now,
Yeah.
granted, they'd be publicized if they're a complete whack job, but you never know. Um, but now in today's society, it's you
You got
can't
information
excuse
coming
not
from
knowing
all
something.
sides, all sides, all opinions, all genders, all ages.
There's no excuse for not knowing something from an objective viewpoint based on the internet, and you have the entire human history of knowledge from the first sentence ever carved into a stone up until today, up until a second ago, right now updated with more, right now updated with more. You know what I mean? All of that information is in your pocket. And, there's no excuse now for not knowing, for being unobjective about an opinion.
But where I'm
Yes, you.
going, but where I'm going with this is the fact that anyone in the world can voice an opinion about something, and anyone in the world can also read that opinion. It kind
uh,
of robs us of the truth or making up our own opinion. So let's say something happened, let's take a topic that's very there's a controversial thing that happened. It's on the news and everything. Now I can go read about it in comment sections, and anyone from every gender, you don't know even who these people are, read. But Now you're thinking, oh, this guy has got a good thing. Oh, that guy said something. But now you can't even make up your own mind anymore because you've got all of these other opinions. You don't even know where they're coming from.
Mm.
You're actually robbing yourself and actually trying out trying to figure out the truth for yourself.
So this is what I do, and
Okay.
I feel personally that I'm doing the right method. But then again, that's just my opinion. Um,
That's just like your
I
opinion,
don't,
man.
I don't being a person that is a science enthusiast, that is a technology enthusiast, that's got a progressive mindset, right? I don't allow myself to make an automatic opinion about anything ever because I can be wrong. And that's the most important thing there is I can be wrong. You can have an incredibly scientific hypothesis and you can love this hypothesis so much. In actual fact, you want this idea to be correct so badly that you're willing to put your life on the line, and it can be wrong. And why is that? Because we're human beings. We have a little piece of gray matter in our heads called our brain, and you got to understand that's all it is. Like, yes, it's complicated. Yes, it's able to think and contemplate the universe, but it's still we're a slave to, at most parts, to our emotions, to what's going on in our minds. If we wake up on the side of on the side of the bed or the wrong side of the bed, or we fought with our spouse, that's going to dictate our mood of the day, and it's going to shift our opinion on certain topics because of our own biases. For example, there's someone on TV that's clearly not a good human being, but because you saw this person in another TV show, or you have some other emotional connection to something that's connected to this person, you don't want to dislike that person, or you don't want to even hear about any negative things about that person because of your own personal bias, right? Now, that's a difficult thing to always control, is to not have an opinion about something until you know the facts. Now,
But
for
now,
me,
but now all of the facts don't get filtered. The facts don't get curated. Anyone can say anything they want, and that can influence anyone. I mean,
and that's why it's dangerous to have leaders and people out there that are, for example, I'm going to just do it.
do it.
Um, Flat earthers,
Yes.
right? Like, let me just start my conversation by saying, if you're listening in and you're a flat earther, you are holding our species back.
You're listening to the
Please stop.
wrong podcast.
You're listening to the wrong. Well, in actual fact, you're listening to the right podcast, because I want you to change your mind, because it is inexcusably moronic to think that the Earth is flat. Let's just get that out the way, right? So, but now here's the thing: someone will put an opinion online that is not someone that can be, you're just putting it out there. There's no scientists that is sitting next to the person as he's explaining his theory that can be like, that's wrong, or that's wrong. And so their ideas just go wild. And the problem is, as human beings, we have this urge and this instinct that, connects puzzle pieces together, pattern recognition. And because we've now connected dots in our mind, first of all, they're the wrong dots, but they're still dots nonetheless. You see a different picture than other people. Now, the difference between people that are like that and people that allow themselves to not fall into that trap and think objectively is, you're going to get closer to what's the real truth, right? So there's one crazy uncle who doesn't understand what gravity is and therefore thinks the earth is flat, doesn't understand how science works. Last time he heard about anything science, he was in grade 2 or something like that, right? Now he thinks the earth is flat. That's one dude. Meanwhile, there are millions of ways you can prove that the earth is round. And just by understanding gravity alone, that gravity pulls things towards itself from every single direction, which creates a sphere, aka a ball, aka a round planet, right? There's so many pieces of evidence for that. But because this one drunk uncle was loud on YouTube and maybe like had a great personality that people found funny,
And
he
now he
gets
can
way more, and he influences the masses that aren't able to think objectively. Now I'm not even going to touch the topic about why that is,
Yeah.
but all that I'm going to get into is the fact that thinking objectively is important in today's society because, yes, what you view as the good guys might be right? But
Yeah.
sometimes they're not. And it's very important to be able to look at both arguments and objectively be like, well, the facts are saying this. The doctors who studied for 8 to 10 years and have PhDs up the wazoo are saying that these are the facts, for example. I'm going to rather trust in their knowledge than in the drunk uncles or the drunk aunts
But
that have an
here it comes
opinion.
back to my initial statement where I said now easily anyone can voice their opinion and anyone can influence anyone. And this robs everyone else of the truth because that drunk uncle can also
Yeah.
perhaps be a teacher and that guy can voice his opinion online. And not only he he can voice his opinion online, some of his students can go online. It's like, wow, this guy is on Reddit. He's got so many upvotes. This, I guess this must be true. I mean, these little
Yeah.
kids will grow up now thinking about this because this drunk uncle, who just so happens to be a teacher, has got the
Yeah.
ability to voice his opinion to millions of people out there. It just doesn't stay in his family like it used to be. Oh, that drunk uncle is just a drunk uncle at family reunions. That guy can actually voice his opinion through millions of people.
Yeah. Although, I mean, yes, you're 100% correct, and we are in a bit of a awkward phase in our human evolution where we're kind of growing. We're in the growing pains of everyone has an opinion. We're starting to realize that the planet is large and there's a lot of opinions flowing back and forth. And we didn't realize how opinionated the human society was up until the internet. Yes, people disagreed. Yes, there were wars. Yes, of course. But just how much we didn't realize the amount of information that people are thinking back and forth. Now, I understand that there are a lot of people that still listen to the drunk uncle. I love that, by the way, the drunkle,
The
we can call
drunkle.
him the drunkle, and the draunt, or the dran, or the dran,
The
rather,
dran.
the dran. Um, what was my thing here again? Oh yeah, so I don't know, dude. Like, I think it's just a matter of time. I think we're not seeing the natural progression fast enough because of the illusion of our lives. But and back to the generational thing, I think it is a generational thing because I have noticed so many times where I'd be in a conversation with family members, for example, and I will be throwing out knowledge that I have in my head, and my uncle will throw an opinion or something that he thinks about or a joke or something. And as soon as we say something and we didn't say something according to what the facts are saying, the little kid in the corner has already got the right answers within a second because their phones and the technology they're growing up with is literally part of their existence from the beginning, which means that they are already throwing out the facts very much faster. Now, Gen Zs might to us millennials be irritating, but if you're objectively thinking about what the kids are saying, especially when it comes to controversial topics, they're the ones on the net. They're the ones with the information instantaneously. They're not relying on Uncle Dave with his opinion about space that is really wrong to allow them to just believe that. Now, yes, of course, there are a lot of people that still do. I mean, obviously, you don't want to talk badly about your elders or whatever, but slowly but surely, I feel that where humans are progressing, we're closer and closer getting to a society of everyone is starting to understand that we're an intertwined species with that's complex, but there are certain things that we just can't understand because of the internet, and it's
I'm
basic.
gonna I'm gonna disagree with you.
Okay, cool. Let's do it.
um, sure. These kids grow up with the information readily available. Okay. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna quote Uncle Ben, speaking of uncles. Okay. With that great power comes great responsibility. Sure,
Ooh.
there are children with the information out there. I mean, with YouTube learning and Skillshare and all of these really positive initiatives to actually
Mm.
gain knowledge from out there, I firmly believe there is going to be a generation of idiots going out there. Okay.
Oh
So
yeah, oh yeah, I
because
agree.
because now I am saying something, hey, what is this? So this kid pulls up his Google and he gives me the answer and he puts his phone back in his pocket. Did he learn something? No, he just gave me the answer from Google. If I ask him the same question the next week, do you think he'll remember it?
Yeah, probably not.
So yes, the information is there, but are these people actually trying to use this to their advantage, or are they trying to become YouTube or TikTok famous?
You know what we're basically describing is that movie Time Machine, where human society eventually splits into the more like angelic, like we understand everything, and and the
Yeah,
other tribe that basically just recedes to like Neanderthal level.
yeah,
Maybe.
exactly that. Because I
I
think
mean,
you can't with that distractions we were talking about earlier. I think and children being as malleable as they are with the information at their fingertips, it's a lot easier to say, oh, why should I become you know uh, a scientist where I can just become TikTok famous and make billions just making silly videos? Why do I want to go make use of universities and everything like that, because I can become like the next Mark Zuckerberg without actually going to college. And I'm thinking that can also be extremely dangerous to a generation.
I I think again, every single topic that we touch on, it comes down to the I think it's the right balance of the correct decisions. You know
And
what I
I
mean? Like, yes,
Yeah.
there is a limit. Yeah, it's just a balance of the right decisions when
and
it comes down to it.
I think to conclude this podcast is everything that we just talk about, and we can debate these things for hours and hours and hours.
Absolutely.
It all boils down to what you spend your time on, and how you spend your time on. And to make this thing go a whole entire full circle, if you organize, you're going to be an organized person. If you find stuff like cleaning and putting everything at its place therapeutic, and to be in order to allow you to have a better time to spend on the important things, you are going to get somewhere. Going to get somewhere. And if you use your time to have junk food and watch Netflix, you're also going to get somewhere. Both of these are people spending time on certain things, but their end destinations aren't going to be at the same place.
It's life is not one giant leap. It's a series of small little steps, and the universe doesn't care which
Yeah.
direction you walk in. It's just going to take you forward in time until you die. That's the only promise that it's going to make to you. It doesn't care about your feelings. It just cares about, it's going to make you born. You get born, you live your life, you die.
Uh,
You have to decide which direction you're walking in. That is our own perspective. Like whether if we want to be successful in our lives, we have to make those little decisions that are directed toward that success. If that goal is to be a couch potato because you enjoy that, the Netflix and the chilling so much that's what makes you happy, go right ahead. I just know
Yeah.
for me personally, that's not the kind of life that I want, and I don't allow myself to blame anything else. My environment, other people. I'm in control, 100% in control of all my decisions. And
I also firmly believe the fact that we're having this conversation and we're going to make it public as well. It
mm,
doesn't take a candle doesn't lose anything to light another candle. Okay.
yeah,
And if you want to be that couch potato, or if you want to be the scientist, or if you want to be the flat earther, whatever, just remember that you might not think about this, but you can literally influence anything and anyone in the world with whatever you say, even if you just like something on Facebook. At
it's
the end of
true.
the day, you need to think about what are you leaving behind. And I'm not talking about materialistic things. Even if you just talk amongst your friends, or if you just don't talk to anyone, you just go to work, you are going to
Mm,
leave something behind, and that is your little fingerprint, your in unique little life. has been lived on this life, and you need
Mm,
to choose how you want to live it.
yeah, absolutely. And I've also noticed that, you make these decisions. You gotta live the life you gotta live. And I just hope that most people realize that a good life is living with kindness, and living as if there is no tomorrow, because there might not be. You get one shot here on this earth. Why
Do
would you
not,
want to leave it uglier than what you found it?
I was going to say, do not miss your chance to blow because opportunities.
Yeah.
No, but and just to motivate anyone, absolutely anyone listening to this, I just think no matter who you are, where you are in your life, and how old you are the only, literally the only person that can motivate you. You are
Yeah.
literally the only person that knows what goes on in your head. And
Yeah.
if I have to give my own little personal advice, is you know what is good for you and you know what you want to accomplish. So listen to other people's opinions. If someone says, don't go down that road, but I'm one of those people, you know what? If there's a problem, if there's anything else that doesn't make sense, I am firmly going to try and figure out what the problem is myself, because then I would know.
Yes. And it's important to be able to look yourself in the mirror and be like, you know what, there's something I can learn here. And that's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay. And it's a good thing. Because the more we can learn about ourselves, the closer we can get to be the best versions we can be. And being a good version for this world it's a good thing.
Or just
Because
for
the more
yourself.
people, or just for yourself, whichever you choose to do.
Anthony, I would like to thank you for, taking your time to chat to me on this podcast. It's been wonderful. And I hope to have you back again soon. If there's anything you would like to finish off and say, give advice, now is your chance.
Thank you, Carl. And well, I think we went quite deep, and I think through the conversation that we had, I think hopefully at least one or two people will listen to this and think to themselves, maybe I should just think about things a little bit differently. Again, we're also just two dudes with opinions.
Yeah.
Take it with a pinch of salt. Take it with a pinch of salt. But yeah, I think just focus on being a happy chappy. It's basically all I'm trying to say. And I will absolutely be back on your podcast. I enjoy doing these things, talking about life with someone that's real. And just for all the listeners, by the way, this is incredibly organic. None of our stuff is ever scripted, and it's incredible to talk to Kyle.
Oh shit! Now I need to burn my script. No, no, I'm just joking. Thank you very much, Anthony. It is absolutely wonderful to have you on board. Looking forward to seeing you a year again, seeing and hearing you here again on a podcast where you don't see anyone. And we'll chat again soon. Cheers, man.
Cheers, buddy.